Dust was blown by the wind like stories soft, sluggish, and longing for someone to hear. With his sleeves rolled up and his fingers smeared with perspiration and hay, Caleb Warwick leaned against the doorframe of his ranch home. Everything, including men, birds, and even regrets, held their breath in that golden silence created by the sun setting behind the cottonwoods. He studied the horizon as though it owed him a response that it never provided, and he scratched behind the ear. Of his old cowdog, Amos, time, not sorrow, was the reason he lived alone. Only things that were obstinate or sacred survived the passage of time. Caleb had become into both. Something moved in the pasture's deep shadow that night. 3 riders are moving deliberately and slowly. They are not hiding, but they are also not in a rush. Comanche, an older man sculpted by cold and wind. 2 women, one looking sideways as though weighing the world, the other looking slightly ahead. Caleb did not grab his rifle when he left the porch. The older man stopped and gave a nod. With a voice like river rock, he declared, "I am Tacoma. These are Amora and Sani, my daughters." Like pearls on a string, their names were suspended in midair. Caleb nodded toward the curtain. "What's bringing you?" Carefully, the chief dismounted. Not a warning, not a conflict, just a man witnessing another man spend too much time alone. Caleb's throat became constricted. The remarks seemed to pierce him more deeply than they ought to have. The chief went on, "We have an offer. There's no fire inside of you, no woman. If you're willing," she gestured to Sania. The ensuing quiet seemed sacred. Sania didn't smile or move forward. Her shoulders were squared, her dark hair was braided in a single, thick rope, and her eyes were like old leather, quiet, deep, and guarded. "I don't require charity," Caleb murmured softly. "It's not charity, it's choice." Once more the wind blew. Caleb flexed his fingers around nothing. He gave a single nod, but it wasn't in agreement. More like giving in to a question he never imagined he would have to respond to. Without saying another word, they set up camp near the dry creek bed a few ridges to the east. He saw their outlines vanish as if the day were being eaten by dusk. The following morning, a heap of dry and clean kindling materialized next to his porch. On the railing was a folded piece of fabric. Amos wagged his tail and took a whiff. Caleb remained silent. He discovered a sack of ground maize on the 3rd morning. Along its margin was a stitched border, waves, stars, and Comanche symbols. As if it might respond to him, he stroked his palm over the fabric. Sona never came close or knocked. Before he could find the right words to explain her silence, she would emerge with the sunrise, walk the fence line, set something down, and then disappear. Although he used to keep his door bolted tight, Caleb observed that he was shaving more, cleaning his shirt and leaving it slightly ajar. These were gestures rather than admissions. Amora stayed back one morning, younger, inquisitive, and with a hint of mischief. "Plainly, she won't ask again," she stated. "Not because she's proud, but because she's tired of begging in silence." In response, Caleb remarked, "I never said yes, you never refused." A chill rushed in that evening. It's the creepy sort, not the biting kind. It dawned on Caleb that he hadn't ignited the earth in days. Without firewood, something inside of him had already begun to warm. He made his way to the window. Saul was strolling toward the ridge outside, her shawl glinting in the moonlight. She didn't look back. Hauled 3 wagons from town the following day. Neighbors, the men who used to call. Caleb's brother now regarded him as though he had lost his mind. "Are you referring to one of the men?" One person laughed and inquired out loud, "Did they try to talk you into it?" Another argument, "You didn't seem like a Comanche lover." Caleb believed that you had expectations. Caleb remained silent. Simply looked them down. With a laugh, they rode away. Like cowardice on wheels, dust rose behind their backs. Sania had listened to everything. Behind the barn, she stood. Face inscrutable, eyes downcast. She didn't show up that evening. Amora didn't either the next morning. It felt cooler than it ought to have on the ranch. The water tasted like tin as he tried to do his chores. The sky appeared to be white. He missed her quiet and her hands that mended everything she left behind without ever touching. He went to their tent on foot. The only person present was Chief Tacoma, who was smoking a sharp object. "Unless you bring her back, she won't come." "I said nothing wrong. You said nothing," the chief answered. "That can be worse at times." Caleb remained silent. He turned and went home by himself once more. That night a storm arrived with roaring winds and slashing rain. The fields were strided by lightning like old scars. Caleb hurried outside to inspect the stables. From the Comanche camp he could see actual flames. Mud was flying up into his mouth as he galloped down. Half burning, half soaked, their tent had fallen. Sonia was pulling her dad away from the fire. Amora let out a scream. Nia was holding her shawl around her sister when Caleb jumped from his horse, tore through fabric, and pulled a beam off the side. She wasn't crying, but her face was streaked with smoke and her hair was drenched. He took hold of her hand. "You shouldn't be alone in a storm like this," he stated. She gave him a look. "I wasn't by myself." "You simply hadn't shown up yet." He didn't respond. Just put his coat over her shoulders. He held on to his fingers. They rebuilt the tent together, shelter, but neither warmth or perfection. He sat next to her under patched canvas that night as Chief Tacoma slept. He breathed steadily but shallowly. "They don't want me where you come from," Sonia said. "I'm not even positive that I want to stay in my hometown." She turned in his direction. Not even close, simply turned. He answered, "You're not a fire someone gives. You are someone's earned fire." Her hand brushed against his. Permission, not an invitation. He could have kissed her, but he didn't. The sun rose golden and thick the following morning. Caleb picked up a crate and walked back to the ranch. Within a ring that his mother had worn during one sad life and 2 wars, he went back to the camp. Slowly, Chief Tacoma sat up. Caleb said, "I didn't say yes before, because I didn't understand what I was being offered." The chief looked at him and said, "I do now," then instantly nodded. Sonia dried her hands as she came out of the trees. She put on Caleb's old scarf once more. The corn satchel's stitching was used to repair the edge. She came closer. No question, no smile. He extended the ring. She refused to accept it. Rather than saying a single word, she grabbed his hand and slipped the ring upon her own finger. They stood silently now. In the silence, Amos let forth a single, happy bark. She observed the moon rising over the far ridge while standing on Caleb's porch that evening. He emerged with 2 glasses of hot coffee. They didn't make toast. They remained silent. They simply stood. Something genuine then emerged from that. Quiet. Something that no one else needed to comprehend. Love is not always loud. Some arrive unexpectedly, peacefully, and brimming with vitality, much like snow in spring. Sometimes finding the proper person isn't the main goal. It's about appreciating the silent power of someone who persists in turning up after being told not to. And if you're fortunate, you'll find out what Caleb did. That fire isn't begging to be seen. It waits for you to notice it at last. Share this tale with someone who still believes in second chances, quiet strength, and gradual love if it touched something deep inside of you. Tell us in the comments section. Has there ever been a person who transformed your quiet into warmth? Get more Wild West stories about hearts, hope, and healing under the stars that go beyond guns and grit by subscribing. 1 fire per story.